Paschal, why is Wimbledon so important to both Ireland and the UK as regards greyhound racing?
I think it's the most important step in the future of greyhound racing in the UK and Ireland. I think without a modern state-of-the-art stadium in Wimbledon, both the UK and the Irish greyhound industry is going to go into terminal decline. Now, why do I think that? London is where it's at. That's where you have Wembley, that's where you have Twickenham, that's where you have Wimbledon Lawn Tennis Club, that's where you have the population, that's where you have the money. You know, there's 10 million people in London. We're not going to get them all. There's millions of tourists, we're not going to get them all. But in the old days in London, very important people, very wealthy people owned greyhounds because that was the status thing to do. Now they're getting out of them faster snow off it, melting off a ditch. Why? Because the facilities are abysmal. They are so bad that the worst stadium in Ireland looks like Clary just compared to Wimbledon. It's dirty, the TVs are old, the reruns are old, you can't hear a thing, and everything's just dreadful, dreadful, dreadful. When it rains, you've got a few lakes to wade through. So you couldn't get any self-respecting person to go and buy greyhounds to run in Wimbledon because they just wouldn't put up with it. If they had Shelbourne Park or Cork, they'd be there every night. There's no doubt about that. So therefore, if you take my friends, I've the little Diamond Syndicate. We have 4 people in London, me here, and they put a lot of money into dogs, but they can't get to Ireland. They have just some commit, and they can't bring people to Wimbledon. So there's only a matter of time before they get out, and they are enthusiasts, and they're only 1 5. There's another 1,000 5s to be mined. Now, why is it so bad? The people of the UK have been conned very, very substantially. Galliard Homes, who are home builders, and Risk Capital, which is Luke Johnson, they bought these stadiums specifically to run them into the ground and develop them. Now, the proof, you need proof. 6 years ago, they produced a scheme for 500 apartments, no greyhound stadium. 6 months ago, in their Merton submission, they produced a scheme for 500 apartments, some commercial, and a football stadium. Then we learned yesterday that they're not going to continue greyhound racing under the management of Clive Feltham. Now, Clive Feltham's a nice guy, but surely they're a failed management. They have run Wimbledon, Oxford, Portsmouth, and several others into the ground, and they haven't done a great job with the other 3. So I think they've been conned. I just think that now, why am I as an Irishman so keen? Well, if there's no UK industry, the Irish industry is just going to go. Already, people are getting out of breeding dogs because there's no market. If you take that UK market away in London, then you have no future. You have a limited future. You get down to a hobby game. It won't be an industry. It will not be employing a lot of people. The trainers will suffer. You take the prize money at Wimbledon, £43 for a race, and a few quid in appearance money. This is where I get very, very angry, that Galliard's Stephen Vernon, Risk Capital, Johnson, are multi-millionaires, but they want to take their livelihood away from honest-to-goodness people who work 24/7, 7 days a week, sometimes 52 weeks in a year. This is immoral. So I will continue to fight that type of fight. And fortunately, the WWW campaign are now getting behind the whole thing. And over the next 8 weeks, we want to see 10,000 emails sent to the chairman of Merton Council, to the Mayor of London. Now, we've been to the offices in the Mayor of London, and his top planners say he wants to retain a greyhound stadium in the capital. That's good news. But we have to be, if people in Ireland, people in the UK, they're great to let the board sit back and do all the work. They've now got to get off their rear ends and do something. And all they've got to do is orchestrate 3, 4, 5 emails
Yesterday's statement in the Racing Post with the 5-year contract for a lease on Wimbledon, where does that leave the Wimbledon campaign?
First of all, it's a very strange decision by NAMA, who actually are owed the money from GRA. And why is it a strange decision? We have a failed management group now running a facility that requires millions spent on it. Now, if those millions are not spent, then it's going to be a loss maker. So, no management group wants a loss maker. So, I'm perplexed why NAMA even went into that arrangement. I'm perplexed. That's why the management wanted to take it on. I can only guess that they are probably hoping that Merton and the mayor will say no more greyhound racing in the next year, and therefore they'll be able to sell it to their friends who are developers. NAMA gets more money and the developers' friends get more money. That's what I think is happening, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make economic sense. If you compare that with all the hundreds of Irish developers who owned London properties, they've had to sell them, forced sales, fire sales over the last 5 years. And here's a failed group who owe them a lot of money, and yet they are giving them 15-year contracts in 3 and a 5-year contract in the other. I think the 5-year contract is because they expect the planning to be football, and therefore they're forced to sell by Merton. They're forced to sell by the mayor. I don't believe there's any chance of them making money at Wimbledon. So, I think NAMA have got questions to answer. There's certainly questions to answer from the Irish Greyhound enthusiast, owner and breeder, because there's no logic to this other than that they hope not to get planning permission for a greyhound track.
Pastor, from what you're saying, the key is still Merton Town Council. We need to keep up the campaign for greyhound racing in Wimbledon.
There's no doubt about that. The key is not Galliard, it's not Risk, it's not Feltham, it's not Taggart, it's not NAMA. The key is Merton Council have got to decide to retain greyhound racing in Wimbledon, aided and abetted by the Mayor of London, who's in favour. But that is the key question. People have got to remember that. That's the only thing that matters. Everything else is irrelevant. I'm irrelevant. Everybody else is irrelevant. The key is we've got to persuade Merton to retain greyhound racing in their borough and not indulge themselves by bringing back a 3rd division team called Wimbledon AFC.